welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here in your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wellness.
Welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show with one of our favorite professionals, our insurance professional that works with Gino and I personally on our business and our investments and everything else. Carlos is here today to talk about a hot topic. Sorry, I had to.
Jesus.
But the question is what do you do after the fires? We know a lot of you out there. If it wasn't you, it's some of you probably know, were devastated by the fires. So what do you do afterwards? Well, what's nice is Carlos Villalobos does a great job every time he comes on the show, being prepared, and he's got some great information about what to do after the fires. Welcome to our show again, Carlos.
Thank you very much for having me. And yes, in the state of California right now, there's approximately 6 million homeowners policies, 2 million dwelling fires, over 2 million renters policies, and a lot of those policies were affected. We're not even talking business insurance because there's a lot of business claims that were happening. The loss ratio combined for most carriers was over 200%. That means that they all lost money. So they cannot charge everybody the same amount of money just because you had a fire, so they spread it out. State Farm alone had a 275% loss ratio.
What does that mean?
That means for every dollar they made, they spent $275.
Crazy. If you were any other business that's not an insurance company, you're out.
Yeah.
You're out. I mean, granted, this doesn't happen every year. It's a particularly bad year.
They're going back into the reserves, and they have reinsurance.
They're required to have a certain amount of reserves, right?
Yes.
Of course, yeah.
But that being said, just to give you an idea, farmers had 150% loss ratio.
Right.
You know, nationwide 421% loss ratio.
Hey, I know what stock not to buy.
Well, no, Nationwide's solid. I mean, ask Peyton Manning. I mean, that quarterback, he's a good spokesman for them. So.
That's why they lost so much, because they had to pay for his advertising.
Now, one of the things that arises after the fire is when people realize that they're underinsured.
Right.
So
we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the big topics.
Remember, we met someone just a couple weeks ago that asked us. She actually said she lost her home in a fire.
Yeah.
And she was asking us for advice, and I said, "Look, you've got your policy." She said her policy wasn't big enough to cover it, and so I said, maybe you have extended coverage, or maybe you have replacement cost. I said, you're going to have to look at your policy and see what other. And she's like, I just have Fair Plan. And so I was like, I don't know if you have any of those riders on there.
Well, with the Fair Plan, they have replacement costs up to the policy limits.
That's it. Yeah.
So if you're insured for $200,000, that's what they're going to pay you.
Yeah. So she was going to be short, and she owned the home free and clear. So she was going to take a little bit of a construction loan to cover the difference.
Yeah, and the other part that's interesting in that you just brought up is that demand surge all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It costs $200 to rebuild a home square feet, but now that demand surge is there.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's $250.
And now it's over 300.
Like
and if you want it now, so that is another problem that arises.
Not to mention, we're living in general, the country doesn't have contractors. I mean,
not enough.
Not enough.
Because
not
home
even
builders
close.
No, not enough.
Are busy.
Yeah. Well, not only that. I mean, look, when I was 5 years old, I was building stuff. I had a hammer, I had glue, I had nails, I had stuff. My kids all have phones and computers. How are they going to build a house?
Yeah, they can't even change the light
build it
switch.
just on the app.
They can't live in it though. Soon enough, they're 3D printing them. It'll be fine.
Yes.
I think that'll work.
Yeah, they're doing it. It's working.
The other thing that it becomes an issue is the time limitation on coverages. Usually it's 24 months. In some instances, it could be 36 months. So you have to be careful. You need to read your contracts. You need to make sure, reach out to your insurance agent. Do not talk to a public adjuster till you report your claim to your carrier. Public adjusters sometimes have one thing in mind, and that's they want to make more money.
Who's a public adjuster?
A public adjuster. So when there's a claim, they're out there, and they will come by and say, hey, we're going to get you top dollar, sign this contract, and all of a sudden now they're participating.
These are people that are taking advantage of homeowners?
But there's contractors that are taking advantage of homeowners for that matter, and there's electricians, they want a down payment, and then you don't see them for 7 months. I mean, that happens all over the place. You just have to be careful. When you sign a contract, make sure they have a license, make sure they're bonded, make sure they have insurance themselves.
But doesn't the insurance company provide an adjuster, and then you would only hire a third party if you had a dispute?
not all the time. Sometimes they go out there really quick trying to get clients to sign a contract.
Wow.
So you got to be careful.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Better be careful. So underwriting laws, renewals and new business is going to be changing dramatically. If the carriers are going to cancel you because now you're too close to the brush, they have to give you a 45-day notice. If they don't, make sure you talk to them and say, no, you can't cancel me. You got to stay on the risk for another year. But people are being non-renewed right now because of the brush. Even though here in Santa Clarita we haven't had any losses per se as up north or in Ventura County, our agency alone is averaging about 14 non-renewals per month. That means companies that are saying, nope, you're too close to the brush based on the new guidelines. We don't want that risk. I know you've been with us 10 years, but sorry, we're canceling you. Now, of course, the insured's upset, and I don't blame them because I'd be upset. But there's always a carrier that's going to write you. It may not be the same rate. It might be 2 times the rate, 3 times. But there's also the fair plan that you can go to. Just remember the fair plan has a cap limit, combined limits of $1,500,000. So maximum. So if your building's at 1.2 and your content's at 300,000, you have no room for loss of use.
But you can get contents through fair plan. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that. I thought it was a fire-only policy.
It is for dwelling, for contents, for loss of use, for fences, for anything.
Related to the fire.
Exactly.
I gotcha. So you can't get, it doesn't cover anything like theft.
No. So then you would have
and things like that.
No.
Is that what they call a wrap, right? Then you get to get something else to cover that stuff.
Correct. It's called a wrap or a difference in condition, a DIC. Oh. So that covers the main things that those policies cover will be water, theft, and liability.
Yes.
Right? Because those are the 3 main items that if you reach your policy, right, are not covered under a fire policy under the fair plan.
Yeah, a lot of people
really good stuff.
I
have insurance. Well, what does it
cover? Everything, right? Be careful of that.
And the fair plan.
About even the flood insurance, if all these rains and stuff, you're not covered with your.
Like these 2 houses that slid off the hill over here in Santa Clarita, they're not covered for that.
No, and no homeowner's policy would cover that. You'd have to get another difference in condition for landslide.
Yeah, we've talked about that because of your home.
Yeah.
Fair plan in the last 5 years has seen an increase of 51%. So the California Fair Plan, when you can't get anything else but just that policy, in the last 5 years they've gone up 51%.
Would it be bad for me to advertise it as the California Unfair Plan?
Better than nothing.
Well, if that's the only coverage you can get.
Yeah, I mean, there are other companies out there. They're going to charge you more and give you a better overall product. But most consumers are living day to day. They can't afford it. So they have to cut corners, and a lot of them go to the fair plan, and the agents don't do a good job. They don't explain what's available. They just sell them the dwelling amount. And then if nothing happens,
great,
no big deal.
Right.
But when you have that claim, as long as you know what to expect, then you're okay. If you don't, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, that's what we always talk about. You don't realize how important insurance is and the type of insurance and how good your insurance is until you need it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just things we've talked about in past shows.
Just Villalobos of Villalobos.
Yes, call me at 255-8282 right away. I mean, right now.
I got to tell you that one of the things that we changed after we talked was just something silly, like making sure my trust is an additional insured on our policies, on all the policies. Well, the property's in the name of a trust. Who's the owner?
Right.
Oh, well, the trust is. Well, they're not on the policy. Oh. And are they?
It's a small thing.
I would say, could I fight that and say, look, you've been charging me hundreds of thousands of dollars in insurance. The trust is me, depending on how the trust is written.
Right.
Potentially. But why go through that? It took 10 seconds to say, hey, what's the name of your trust? Here's the name of my trust, and there it is, done. I don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. Now, make sure that the trust is also on your umbrella.
Mm-hmm. I have that.
Okay,
we're good.
Good job.
Yep. I even tried. After that, I tried to put everything. I was like, "Hey, can you put my uncle as an additional insured and my cousin?" Okay, Gino, no, you can't. You can't additional insure everybody in the world.
So the bottom line, after the fire, a lot of things are changing. Rates are going up. People are being non-renewed. Just look at your policy, see what you have, see what you can get. If you have one agent that only has one carrier, they may not be able to do anything for you, because if that carrier doesn't want to write insurance, they can only go to the fair plan, or they might be able to go to aftermarket like Lloyd's of London. But if you talk to an independent agent, also ask them, who are you using? Because one independent agent might have a list of carriers, and the other one might have another list. Some of them will overlap, but maybe somebody has one carrier that the other one doesn't. And that's how you determine where you're going to get your best value.
And that's with working with a broker. That's one of the problems that we have the similar situation when people go straight to a bank or a credit union.
They're going to get that
just
loan.
Limited in very few options.
And then guess what they're going to sell them?
What they got.
Right?
Well, you can't blame them. I mean, if I only have one product, hey, here's my product, here's the good, the bad, but that's all I got.
Yeah.
So if you're being non-renewed, what do you want me to do?
Right.
I have nowhere to go.
Yeah. No, and then you got to go. But, and I know this is kind of thinking, looking in the crystal ball, but we don't think that fire risk is going to decline anytime soon going forward, right? It continues to increase just because higher populations, because of density, because of...
Yeah, because of natural disasters.
Yeah.
We're seeing an average of anywhere from an 8 to a 28% rate increase for all our homeowner products. And it doesn't matter who the carrier is. And if you get in and you didn't get an increase this year,
it's coming next year,
don't worry, you'll get it next year.
Yeah, just hasn't hit you yet.
Well, the only reason
people ask us to move them around sometimes, and it's like...
Yeah, it's futile.
I don't know. I mean, because I'm seeing it. I mean, I'm seeing it from all over the board. I mean...
So the reason I asked that is maybe it's time to consider that those high-risk zones, as beautiful as they may be under some price pressure going forward if insurance becomes too costly.
They are. What they're doing now is they're doing fire line scores. All the carriers are going. It's an internal thing, and depending on the fire line score, it's from 1 to 10. The rates are going to change, and then they look at the surrounding hills, the wind conditions, the slopes.
So if I'm a property investor, I'm going to want to actually start to take into consideration the fire line score, because there's potential that the investment value over 20 years is going to get damaged by increased insurance cost.
Of course. And then we've had consumers that ask for a rate, and all of a sudden we give them that premium estimate because we don't know till the end. And they go, well, why so much? It's where the property is.
Right.
So, and then they walk away from it, which is bad too, because now the person that really wanted to buy that beautiful home that they had their eyes on, all of a sudden has to take into consideration what the insurance is going to cost.
It's all part of the total cost, though.
Yes. Welcome to California.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great information, and thank you for sharing with us. What happens after the fires? And we've had, decimated towns. I mean, people that thought they were, I'm in a tract of homes, I'm safe. Wiped out 6,000 homes. I mean, when you look at that, you're like, wow.
Yeah, because that's always been kind of our false safety. It's like, they let it get close to the houses, but it never burns down the houses. They let it get, they burned down a rural ranch out there, but it'll never get to the tracks. That's what we always felt.
That's what I felt.
Well,
that's my point, was exactly that, Gino, that it took out an entire city almost.
Yeah, false sense of security there.
Right.
Yeah, and the last 2.5 years have been brutal. Yeah. I mean, just brutal.
And I'm looking at it now, and the hills look gorgeous because we got all this rain, and it's beautiful, and it looks like Ireland, and I'm like, oh my God, it's all going to be brown fuel.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. The grass is not the issue. It's the native brush sometimes, or those bushes that grow that burn really
Especially
good.
the ones that haven't burned for a long time.
Yes, and they have controlled burns. I mean, you see that in Sequoia, and then there's a windstorm and it gets out of control, but that's another story. But, I will say the fire department here in Santa Clarita does a fantastic job.
I know visually.
Fantastic.
It's come after my home 3 times, and I watch what they do, and they're amazing. I mean, the 50-foot wall of flames, and they had it handled.
It's amazing.
Shout out to firemen. Call me at 255-8282. I'll write your policies.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. They're rock stars. I mean,
I'll tell you, it's funny how conditioned we get, though. At the last fire that was getting close to my house, and I was trying to figure out whether I would evacuate for a 3rd time, like you. I go up to the top of this hill, I look at it, and in my expert opinion, I'm like, I think it's going the other way. I'm good. I'm going to go to sleep. Then a couple days later, you're like, I'm crazy. What was I thinking? Why did I make that decision?
In 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, it did at our house. I mean, I thought we were done. It was going up Newhall Pass. I'm like, woo! and then the wind blew in my face.
Yep.
Really, in 5 minutes, we were in trouble. 5 minutes.
Yes,
We were-
I
it
know.
was
My office
surrounding.
is right down
Yeah.
the
By you.
street from you. I mean, we've been
Yeah.
evacuated a couple of times.
Yeah, you're literally the bottom of my
And the
hill.
only thing I take is my computer. And it's
That's
like,
all you have time for.
I've got
See ya.
a box of hard drives and whatever pictures you could throw in a suitcase and go.
Right.
Now, when it's at Porter Ranch, I know it can come over the hill. I
Yeah.
have time to get my wine, too. You're going to appreciate that, Carlos.
I can, absolutely.
All right, we're here with our good friend, Carlos Villalobos, our insurance carrier and professional and good friend with Carlos Villalobos Insurance. All right, so we have a top 10. What's
Yes.
our-
Oh, we wanna go to it now?
We're teeing up for next one.
All right, we'll do the top 10 how to find residential insurance,
There you go.
because that's pretty important nowadays, especially if you're getting a non-renewal.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Great stuff, Carlos. Stay tuned. More great stuff in Carlos Villalobos Insurance.